Good morning. Welcome to Gen Taub Live. It's so great to see you all this morning. As usual, we have a big show ahead. Mostly focusing on, but not entirely, what Donald Trump has been doing in terms of his nominations for his cabinet. And as we talked about yesterday, the very sort of kind of eyebrow-raising nominations that were announced on Tuesday. We understood at that time that it would be even scarier ones, even more concerning ones, that Donald Trump was just warming us up. But there's a little bit of a mix today of some good news. There might be some limits on what he can accomplish, guys. And so let's start with the numbers. Our 10th item, we're doing a countdown. And let me just say, we do the countdown from 10 to 1, right? And someone in the comments yesterday asked me, why don't I count up? Why don't I go from 1 to 10? And the reason why is I want people to know that as we get closer to the number 1, the show will be over. Now, you may say, well, if everyone knows it's a top 10 countdown, won't they know the same thing? And the answer is absolutely not. Nope. And here's why. Some people will join the show and just think, oh my God, how many items, right? So we are only doing 10 and we are starting with our 10th item. And our 10th item today is the set right now, the set of circumstances that have led us to some actually good news. And that is the Senate, the incoming Senate, right? Not as it's composed now, because remember, the Senate right now is still in the hands of the Democrats, right? Chuck Schumer is still Senate Majority Leader, but that is not going to last for long, right? So as a result, the incoming Senate is going to have to constitute itself, right? And so the obviously they need to figure out whether among their ranks now, when they choose who their leader is, right? It's called the Senate Minority Leader when they're not in power. It had been Mitch McConnell. He has stepped down, and now they have selected as their Senate Minority Leader, as well as who will be Senate Majority Leader come January 3rd. And thank God, guys, it is not Rick Scott. Now, let me just tell you 1 second. It ends up being John Thune, Senator from South Dakota. The reason why I say thank God that it's not Rick Scott from Florida is because he's ultra MAGA and he is a complete fraud. He committed and settled some cases involving Medicare fraud. And so I don't think it helps to have someone, yet another person who has been associated with cheating the government. And just to be clear, Rick Scott is, and let me just share this with you, just so you know, because I say these things, right? But I want to share the screen on this one so you actually get this. And here we have, and let me just blow this up for you so you can see. This is Rick Scott. And this is the guy who, thank God, we dodged a bullet. He is the businessman. He is a senator from Florida, right? A U.S. senator, and people keep voting him into office. He is behind one of the biggest medical frauds in history, and Donald Trump wanted him to be his guy in the Senate. And let's just be clear, he ran the company Columbia HCA, and it was once one of the biggest hospital chains in the United States. And this guy was born wealthy. And has had a lot of legal troubles. This is a piece from the Telegraph. In 2003, so that's around 21 years ago, his company was forced to pay $1.7 billion, my friends. Yes, I said it, and I'm going to just tell you, you can see this, but he was forced to pay $1.7 billion, his company was, because they had defrauded Medicare. He is a U.S. senator, defrauded Medicare from Florida. What is wrong with people that keep voting him into office? He was CEO, Chief Executive Officer of that company. He left with a pay for failure golden parachute of $10 million. Guys, I don't make this stuff up. This is real. So just so you know, the rot is deep in the Republican Party, right? They're fine with electing, and the majority of Americans, apparently, they're fine with electing a president who is been found guilty on 34 felony counts, who's been, I don't need to go through everything with Donald Trump. I just want to tell you that Rick Scott, when he was CEO, his company paid a $1.7 billion fine. And let me tell you, did he lose anything from that? No. When they were cheating Medicare, he was making a ton of money. And when they fired him, they paid him $10 million. This is such a scam. And this is the kind of thing that I write about in the book, Big Dirty Money. I wrote about. I did not focus on Rick Scott, though. But there you go. So I was personally relieved that he was not chosen. Instead, we had John Thune, who's more of a traditional Republican, who was chosen. So let's play that. This is a bit of good news. We think that maybe it sends a signal to Donald Trump that MAGA is not going to run all over the government and that Donald won't get everything he wants. Let's play this.
Leader Thune, you've said that recess appointments are on the table. That's a key demand from President-elect Donald Trump. Will you move forward with that?
Well, what we're going to do is make sure that we are processing his nominees in a way that gets them into those positions so they can implement his agenda. How that happens remains to be seen. You know, obviously, we want to make sure our committees have confirmation hearings like they typically do, and that these nominees reported out to the floor. But I've said this, and I mean it, that you know, we expect a level of cooperation from the Democrats to work with us to get these folks installed. And obviously, we're going to look at explore all options to make sure that they get moved and that they get moved quickly.
Sorry about those mic issues. I actually hope you were able to hear me at the beginning of the show. So what did what did John Thune have to say there? It's important. I started out making you feel hopeful here, you guys, kind of hopeful in that I was trying to say here, let's, oh, by the way, smash that subscribe button, guys. I have a plan. I need you to subscribe. It's free. Unless you want to upgrade, that's up to you to become a member, but it's free. Subscribe because we have a goal. We need to get this station to 10,000 subscribers by December, which is my birthday month. So go ahead, help me out on that plan. Okay. So I start out by saying that John Thune being here, the fact that he is a Senate minority leader now, and he will be Senate majority leader after January 3rd, that kind of cabined off some of the damage that maybe Donald Trump could do. But when you listen, this is a bit of a bait and switch, because when you listen to what he said, he is not above allowing Donald Trump to jam through his cabinet nominees, even without Senate confirmation. That is what that actually meant. That is what was meant there. And what does that mean? And I need to lay this out for you. This will get us to this item number 9. Okay, so let's talk about this for 1 second. Okay, item number 9 is this concept that Donald Trump is going to do something quite different than has been done in the past. Now, let's just lay this out. We know that normally for certain positions, like cabinet positions and federal court appointments, that there need to be Senate confirmation hearings, and then after that, and they can be individual or in bulk, and the Senate then needs to vote as to whether this candidate can take the position. And the number of people who have to approve that now is only 51, not 60. But there are some nominees, and this is where I get you to item 9 here. There are some nominees that we are looking at in this situation where it appears, and we're going to be talking about them, that they are not going to get through. And so what Donald Trump is planning to do, again, here we are at item 9, He is planning to pressure and essentially force the Senate and House to go into recess. And if enough of them succumb to his pressure, then after January 3rd, when we have the new Senate and House, and those will be controlled by the Republican Party, which is his party, he will say, either you get these folks confirmed, John Thune, as fast as you can, or we are going to have recesses. And when there is a recess, when they shut down the Senate and the House for a specific period of time, in that recess, he would be able to jam through these nominees. Now, this is quite unusual, and this is something that he is planning. I don't want to get too much into the weeds of this. This would be highly irregular, but welcome to Donald Trump, who is absolutely highly irregular, which is also part of this. What is deeply, deeply ironic is that Donald Trump, who almost refused to leave office, he staged a coup in 2021 and interfered for the first time in the peaceful transfer of power, is now going to push the limits when it comes to getting what he wants and the appointments that he wants. And this is in contrast to what we saw, I think it was yesterday, and I want to play this for you. It could have been 2 days ago. I apologize, but this week we had a presser where it was Donald Trump and Joe Biden in the Oval Office, demonstrating to the world that Democrats know how to respect the Constitution. This is somewhat painful to watch, but I want to show you how Joe Biden handled this, like a gentleman and like a patriot.
And we don't know exactly how long it will last, but we're about to get those remarks any moment now. Lasted about a minute, and we send it back to you, Jose.
Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need, and we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So,
good.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much. And politics is tough, and it's in many cases not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
I could not hear what everyone was shouting at them, but the visual is all that mattered. A fireplace, a sense of calm, a peaceful transfer of power. So ironically, that we have a democracy, we have an election where the majority of people are choosing essentially authoritarianism, and we don't know what happens next. I'm hopeful, but after some of these nominees yesterday, I am concerned. And that, of course, brings us to item 8. So, friends, item 8 is giving you a sense of where we stand right now, keeping track of so far who the nominees that Donald Trump has put forward. Here is a helpful chart. So far, let's blow this up. So far, we have, of course, J.D. Vance is his top pick. That is for vice president. Marco Rubio will be Secretary of State. Pete Hegseth, the guy we spoke about yesterday, who was pushed out, in his own words, from the Army. He was in the National Guard because of his radical ideas. Pete Hegseth, the guy who is an axe-throwing Fox and Friends host, who also, we found out yesterday, sports on his body very far-right Christian tattoos associated with extremism in the U.S. and Europe. Then we also have, now we're going to get to Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz, who has been nominated yesterday to be Attorney General. Of course, we have Kristi Noem, Homeland Security. We spoke about her already. We have, I think, John Ratcliffe, who is going to be, let me just pull this up. We have John Ratcliffe, who is going to head the CIA. Susan Wiles, Chief of Staff. We have Lee Zeldin, there to destroy the EPA, and a UN ambassador to our U.S. ambassador to the UN, Elisa Stefanik. And then, of course, yesterday, shocking news that Tulsi Gabbard would head up the whole intelligence apparatus as head of our national security. So she will be head of national intelligence, which would be overseeing all again of the organizations, CIA, FBI, and so on. Okay, so that is where we are. And I need to now back up and talk specifically about yesterday's appointments. And my thumbnail is kind of funny, but it's kind of true. The bottom line is Matt Gaetz was able to essentially end the Congressional Ethics Committee sex probe against him by being nominated yesterday to be Attorney General. I kid you not. You cannot write this stuff. And I'm going to add this to the stage so you can see this. Now, here's Matt Gaetz. This is the nomination. It did not come out just to be clear. Let me just on presidential stationery. This came out as a tweet, and I'll talk about this and I'll put it back up in a moment. What you need to know is that this Friday, meaning tomorrow, the House Ethics Committee was preparing to release the report into Matt Gaetz, the allegations that he was engaged in sex and drug-fueled parties involving women in prostitution, as well as girls, including at least one 17-year-old. Now, this has been investigated. It may sound familiar to you because there was a criminal case that was dropped. However, in June of this year, the House Ethics Committee decided to pick this up. So let me show you. This is where Donald Trump says that he is announcing that Matt Gaetz would become his AG nominee. This was shocking. We'll talk about how people are shocked by it in a second. But this is what I want to let you know that really is going on here. Here's a piece from Axios by Andrew Solinder. And this headline is Matt Gaetz resigns ahead of key ethics committee meeting. Okay, so it was going to be this Friday that report was going to be issued. And these were allegations, including sex trafficking, illegal drug use, and accepting bribes. Of course, he has denied that. Now here, let's go back. This is something I talked about this summer with you on June 18th. This is the press release, and I want you to have you draw your eyes down. I know you can't see it, but probably it's small, but I want to tell you, you can take a screenshot. Look at that second to last paragraph, the penultimate paragraph. Accordingly, the committee is reviewing allegations that Gaetz may have, this is a key thing, engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use, accepted improper gifts, dispensed special privileges and favors to individuals with whom he had a personal relationship, and sought to obstruct government investigations into his conduct. The committee will take no further action at this time. So they set aside the allegations that he may have shared inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, or committed campaign funds to personal use, or that he accepted a bribery or improper gratuity. Okay, so some of that stuff was set aside. Now we've got more. This is, by the way, this is the blow up that I was trying to give you. This is the key language. Now, of course, the mere fact of this investigation didn't indicate a violation had occurred. Okay, so this is the key. This is the key thing that we were looking at. And this is what was the result of that investigation was going to be announced on Friday. He found that out yesterday. I don't know. Did he place a phone call to Donald? Donald suddenly nominates him for AG. And then very quickly, shockingly, what happens next? You won't believe it, but Matt Gaetz stepped down. He immediately resigned from his House seat. So that is how he dodged that bullet. And I would like to share with you what actually we had a kind of shocked a Speaker of the House who was, when I say shocked, he had no idea until the very last minute that we were going to have a situation where there would be an empty seat in the House immediately, right? An empty seat in the House. So let's play
Matt
that.
and I were classmates. We came to Congress at the same time in the 115th Congress in January 2017. And alphabetically, we're seated right next to one another in Judiciary Committee. We served there together for 7 years. Some of y'all who cover Judiciary know those are long meetings. So I got to know Matt very well. Look, I'll say this. Everyone who served with him will tell you he's one of the most intelligent members of Congress. He's an accomplished attorney. He's very concerned about the lawfare that has been occurring in the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, and the fact that the American people have lost their faith in our institutions of justice because of everything that they've seen. He's a reformer in his mind and heart, and I think that he'll bring a lot to the table on that. I think out of deference to us, he issued his resignation letter effective immediately of Congress. That caught us by surprise a little bit, but I asked him what the reasoning was, and he said, well, you can't have too many absences. So under Florida state law, there's about an 8-week period to select and fill a vacant seat. And so by doing so today, that allows me, I've already placed a call to Governor DeSantis in Florida and said, let's start the clock. He's in Italy at the moment, and so we're going to talk first thing in the morning about this. And if we start the clock now, if you do the math, we may be able to fill that seat as early as January 3rd when we take the new oath of office for the new Congress. So Matt would have done us a great service by making that decision as he did on the fly. And so we're grateful for that. So we move forward. Look, I'll say this about people have asked me all day long, poaching all of your talent. Yes, but we have an embarrassment of riches here. The Republican conference is full of talented people who are extraordinary.
Okay. That was like the biggest bullshit response. Yes, his timing happens to be pretty good. Ron DeSantis, who is vacationing perhaps in Italy, who knows, will get right on that and make sure that there is an election in Florida. Now, of course, in addition to the seat in the Panhandle that Matt Gaetz has now vacated, needing to be filled, because Marco Rubio, as you know, is becoming Secretary of State, they are going to also have to fill his Senate seat, and none other than Lara Trump. Lara Trump, who is absolutely loyal to the regime, to her father-in-law, wants that seat very desperately. But she has not yet heard from DeSantis, she says. But given that he is in Italy, I guess she will also have to wait. Now, let us get to item 7, right? And item 7 is more details on this Gaetz announcement. Because I just told you about Gaetz, but I would like for you to see what his fellow members of Congress have said about him historically when he was under investigation initially for, over in, I think this happened in June, and so on, when they decided, because he put Gaetz did not want him to be investigated. He wanted Kevin McCarthy, who was then Speaker of the House, to stop this ethics investigation, and Kevin wouldn't. So let's hear what was being said at the time about Gaetz.
He was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is...
In case you don't know, ED stands for erectile dysfunction. I just figured that out from the context. Let's keep going.
Obviously before you got married.
Okay, so this is one guy. We've got more in item 7 of people trashing him. Let's take a look at this. Okay, here we go.
Because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started...
Hold on, let's play this.
And I'll give you the truth why I'm not Speaker. It's because one person, a member of Congress, wanted me to stop an ethics complaint because he slept with a 17-year-old. An ethics complaint that started before I ever became Speaker, and that's illegal, and I'm not going to get in the middle.
Wow. So this is Kevin McCarthy, who was still bitter, and he was not stopping the complaint. And then we found out after Kevin had said that about the announcement. This is why Matt Gaetz was, remember, trying to push Kevin McCarthy out. Kevin McCarthy very briefly became Speaker of the House after the 2022 midterms in 2023. He wouldn't stop the ethics probe, and then we hear the announcement, recently over the summer that it was still continuing over this summer. So this is where we are now. This is Matt Gaetz. This is someone who folks are pretty shocked about. Let's just put it that way, pretty shocked about his nomination. And when I say shocked, I feel like the person who is the most shocked about this is really Susan Collins. Yes, we have to talk about how Susan Collins is really constantly finding herself in situations where she is troubled, and where she is shocked. And I think we need to hold that thought for a moment. But I just want to let you know that Susan Collins is very, very often troubled and shocked by these situations. The real question, though, is how will she vote? And just like the members of Congress who trashed Matt Gaetz while the ethics probe was going on, they don't get a vote, right? But the senators do. And senators like Susan Collins and other Republican senators who are expressing disbelief and disdain for this nomination of Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, they will either get in line. John Thune will either get them in line to support this nomination and push it through, or Donald Trump will force them into recess, and it will happen. Now, the good news is, I don't think Donald Trump actually wants Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General. I think this was just something to help Matt Gaetz save face and step down from the House in this manner. And Matt Gaetz may actually just drop out. But who knows? The whole point of these outrageous nominations is essentially a loyalty test. I think I read somewhere online yesterday that it's like when Sean Spicer, right after Donald Trump was elected, and at the inauguration in 2017, when he claimed it was the biggest crowds ever, that disturbed me so much because it was so obviously disprovable. And the fact that we were being told that meant that, again, it's sort of Orwellian. Don't believe what you see, right? Just listen to what we tell you. Okay, so that was item number 7. Let's talk about item number 6. This is something, a little bit of a break. We're going to get to Tulsi in a moment. We have actually something fun for item number 6, and that is this. Rudy Giuliani. Yes, Rudy Giuliani. I love this photo of him. There are so many similar to this. Rudy Giuliani, my friends, he lost his lawyers. They quit on him. And this was yesterday, filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. This is the trial court out of Manhattan. This is the federal court, right? And his counsel, this is in the case involving Ruby Freeman and Wandrea Moss versus Rudolph Giuliani. Remember, these are the mother and daughter who he defamed, who were the poll workers. And you may remember that he has to give them his apartment in New York. And you may have read recently that he was hiding certain assets. So here we go. This is attorney Kenneth A. Caruso. And he says, I am a member of the bar of the court and the sole member of Kenneth Caruso Law, LLC. I am lead counsel for defendant Rudolph W. Giuliani in both these two different cases, right? There's a lawsuit against him, which is a homestead action. That's to take his apartment, I think, and the turnover proceeding. And then he says, item 2, I submit this declaration pursuant to the specific local rule of New York professional conduct in support of a motion to withdraw as counsel for defendant. I make this motion also on behalf of my co-counsel. This is David Lebowski, who also has his own law firm called Lebowski Law PA, Professional Association. And then he says, and this is fun, basically the rest of this, other than this paragraph, is mostly redacted. Like page 2 is redacted and page 3 is just procedural stuff. Okay, the grounds for this motion arise under professional rule And I'm not going to list these professional rules. These are rules of professional conduct that lawyers must subscribe to. I am admitted to the New York Bar. I also subscribe to these professional rules. Let's read this. A lawyer may withdraw from representing a client, such as Giuliani, where the client insists upon taking action with which the lawyer has a fundamental disagreement. The client insists upon presenting a claim or defense that is not warranted. Let me just plug in Rudy's name, right? This makes it easier. Let's start over. So he's saying, I, Kenneth, and my pal, my pal here, David, we're allowed to dump a client when, in this case, Rudy insists on taking action with which we have a fundamental disagreement. Rudy insists upon presenting a claim or defense that is not warranted under existing law and cannot be supported by good faith argument for an extension, modification, or reversal of existing law. Rudy fails to cooperate in the representation or otherwise renders the representation unreasonably difficult for us to carry out effectively. So that, my friends, is my delightful thing, my delightful little nugget for you today. Okay, that was a little bit of a palate cleanser until we get to item number 5. And this is 5 is the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard. And that almost sent me spiraling. I gotta tell you, this was to me, of all the nominees, of all the picks, the most disturbing. And here's why. Whew. Even though I know that Donald Trump has ties to Russian oligarchs, we know that. And even though we know that Putin is trolling us, making us believe he is captured, right, by the Kremlin, and even though I knew that he's being influenced by Elon Musk, I did not actually think he would go so far as to nominate someone who is publicly thought to be, and even by Russia, thought to be essentially either a useful idiot and she's not an idiot, or essentially a puppet or an agent of the Kremlin, that she repeats their talking points. She's also an apologist for murderous dictator Assad from Syria. So let me share this with you. I'm no longer spiraling about this, but let me share with you the nomination information right here for the Tulsi announcement. Okay, so let's look here. This is the statement from Donald Trump. Obviously, he had some time to type it up, unlike the fly-by-night nomination of Matt Gaetz to get him out of a damaging ethics report. And here he says that he's pleased to announce Tulsi Gabbard to be the Director of National Intelligence. And then he talks about, remember that Tulsi, if you may have forgotten this, but in 2020, she did run. She was a Democrat. She ran on the Democratic ticket. She recently switched over her allegiance on paper. I don't think she ever had allegiance to the Democratic Party, to Donald Trump. And she is a war veteran. And she was in the Hawaii State House of Representatives initially, and she enlisted in the Army National Guard and so on. Now, I want to make clear here that the reason why I'm concerned is that back in 2022, when Tulsi changed his parties, Russian state TV referred to her as our girlfriend Tulsi, or our girl Tulsi, after playing this clip where she's talking with Tucker Carlson, supporting Russia over Ukraine. And one of the panelists asked, and I'll play this for you, is she some sort of Russian agent? And the host says, da, right? Da, which basically means, da basically means yes in Russian. Now, okay, let's play you. That's really the bottom line here. Now, I've got, of course, Tulsi is such a big topic. I have item 4 regarding Tulsi Gabbard right here. Okay, so item 4 with Tulsi Gabbard is something that Pete Buttigieg, when they were both running for the Democratic nomination in 2020, had to say. He was accused of not having enough experience, and he countered with this.
Mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad.
Hold on one second. Let me get to the beginning. Here we go.
And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment that I would not have sat down with a murderous dictator like that.
She smiled. She did not cringe. Let's see what Tulsi had herself to say when she was asked about Assad.
Do you believe that Assad is a war criminal?
I think that the evidence needs to be gathered. And as I have said before, if there is evidence that he has committed war crimes, he should be prosecuted as such.
But you're not sure now.
Everything that I have said requires that we take action based on evidence. The evidence is there. There should be accountability.
Okay. That is her not being willing to actually say yes. And my fourth topic then, countdown to 3. My third topic now is the evidence from Russian television that she is compromised. Okay, let us play this. Now, this is what I was referring to earlier, and I wanna find this crazy clip of Tulsi. I think this is the one. Let's go.
Все внимание к выборам в Конгресс, до которых остается каких-то 2 недели. Сложная ситуация в экономике, инфляция, рост цен, все.
I'm sorry. That is in Russian, but that is not, and I don't speak Russian. That is actually not the Tulsi clip. This is the one that I want. Here we go.
Всем американцев поставили там Туси, наша подружка, что говорится, да, Туси Габбард. Говорят в словах Байдена про смену власти в России. Мне кажется, что это не оговорка. Говорят, президент Байден просто вслух озвучил цели своей администрации, которые заключаются в смене власти в России и в отстранении Путина от власти. Они осуществляются...
Okay, so at the very end of this, she's talking.
Проводившись ранее, и выльется в ужасающие последствия.
So she's talking about Joe Biden's policy in Ukraine and what a disaster it is. And then let's get to the very end. Hold on, I'm going to get to.
За рамки того, что мы можем представить. Интересно, что... Да, интересно, что...
Okay, that was the part. If you know, I'm not seeing the subtitles there, which I had seen previously on Twitter. That's where they said, is she some kind of agent? And he says, da. Now there is more. Tulsi, the clip I wanted to show you is Tulsi has been avoiding actually ever speaking on Russian TV. That was the clip I was showing you here. And essentially, this is, you can see across the bottom.
США, все внимание к выборам.
Hold on, I'm going to make the Russian sound go away on this clip so we can just look at what's going across the bottom of the screen when I play this one, and I'll blow this one up. This is when she is, this is when Tulsi is avoiding, sorry about this confusion here, avoiding going on Russian TV. Let's look at what's going across the bottom. So this is saying a mere 2 weeks from now, difficult economic situation, inflation, rising prices, that is of great concern to average Americans. They're saying the politicians are more concerned about Ukraine, delivery of weapons, and the confrontation with Russia. Therefore, Ukraine became a topic, is what he's saying, of domestic politics in the United States. All pre-electoral debates on television are tied to this issue. It says the position of the Democrats in support of Zelensky's regime has become so risky and controversial that former U.S. President Obama spoke out to soften things up and improve his party's chances if the Democrats end up in the minority in Congress and in the Senate. The funding of the war might be in question, is what he says. And our correspondent, Valentin, they continue to talk about this topic. And here we go. Hold on. Okay, so this is the part where they say you can take the girl out of the Democratic Party, but it ain't easy to take the Democratic Party out of the girl. This is Tulsi talking, even after slamming. Anyway, so this is pictures of Tulsi, and they are praising her as being pro-Russia's position. And they want to ask her questions from Russian TV. Okay, wait, let's pause this. This is the part that's going to be in English. So let's let you look at this. She does not want to answer a question here. So let's play it.
В ядерной войне все равно боится проработки в Вашингтонском обкоме, да хоть за связи с иностранцами. Один вопрос от российского телевидения. Один вопрос. Российское телевидение. Компроматы уже, видимо, на нас продолжила собирать команда Gabbard.
Okay, so basically Russia is has been very interested in Tulsi Gabbard in the lead up to this particular election when she had changed parties. And they obviously wanted to talk with her on camera, and she avoided them. And what they said is it would compromise her. That was what was said after that. Okay, guys, I got more for you, though. It's not just me who is concerned. There are many others, right, concerned about this. And I want to share this one with you. This is a tweet from Representative Abigail Spanberger, who's a Democrat who served in the military. Or I'm sorry, I think she served in the military, but she was also a former CIA case officer. And here's what she said. I saw the men and women of the U.S. intelligence community put their lives on the line every day for the country. And I am appalled at the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard to lead the DNI, Director of National Intelligence. Not only is she ill-prepared and unqualified, but she traffics in conspiracy theories, by the way, footnote, the 9/11 conspiracies, and cozies up to dictators like Bashar al-Assad of Syria and Vladimir Putin of Russia. And then she says, as a member of the House Intelligence Committee, I am deeply concerned about what this nomination portends for our national security. My Republican colleagues with a backbone should speak out. She is not mincing words here. I mean, this is very deeply concerning because obviously, Director of National Intelligence, who has alliances with Vladimir Putin, apparently, and sympathetic to him. This is not good. It is not surprising, and it is in our face, right? Donald Trump could accomplish this through secret measures. He's just doing that right in front of us. He is basically saying what his plans are here. Now, we have item number 2. We're in our countdown. Okay, what do we have on tap? What we have on tap for item number 2 is a little taste of hope before we get to our moment of crazy town. And the bit of hope here is that we are paying attention. For whatever reason, even though I was feeling like I was spiraling after the Tulsi Gabbard nomination yesterday, I recognize this. We will be watching and moving forward. And what we do need to see is whether, and all it will take is a handful of senators and members of the House standing up to Donald Trump. They don't have to. So remember, the way he wants to do this is through either the Senate confirmation hearings, a normal process, and you just need someone to, you just need a couple senators. They don't have much of a majority to refuse from the Republican Party. Or if that's not going to work and he's going to try to push through a bunch of recess appointments, you just need, a handful of House members. They just have the House by slim margins after early January, or you need combined with a handful of the senators. Basically, if the House and Senate don't both go into recess, he can't jam these things through. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope for resistance because I think that Donald Trump has been threatening that anyone who gets in the way of these appointments, he will primary. which will just, in theory, make MAGA even stronger. But here's where I hold out hope. At the beginning of this show, I mentioned John Thune becoming the Senate minority leader for the Republicans, and eventually he'll be the Senate majority leader. And even though there was a lot of talk of the corrupt Senator Rick Scott, right, who presided over as CEO a company that paid over 1.6, I think it was 1.7. We talked about that $1 billion in Medicare fraud and ended up walking away with a $10 million pay for failure parachute. That guy only got 13 votes. And last time around, when they tried to install him, he had 10. And so assuming that one of those votes for him, and I don't know, was J.D. Vance, he's not really gaining ground. MAGA is not really gaining ground. And it's possible that they will together, the conservative Republicans, stand up to Donald Trump. Again, they never have done it before, but we shall see. And we shall see how we move forward. It is not the end of our democracy. I see comments like that. This is the beginning of the fight for our lives. And the way we fight and resist, as I said, build communities locally. What matters now are our local governments, our local school boards, our local elections, our governors. I've never been more proud to be an American because we are watching this with our eyes wide open. And when Donald Trump, if he is able to impose his tariffs and everything he does, when prices go up, when he is not able to deliver to people the things he promised, they are going to feel defeated. Now, we'll see how that turns out in 2 years in the ballot box. But in the meanwhile, we don't have 2 years to wait, right? We need people to grow a spine right now. Okay. And that gets us, my friends, that gets us to our favorite part of the show, which is Crazy Town. And before I get to Crazy Town, I just want to ask you again, please subscribe. It really makes a huge difference. It will allow subscribe, right? Hit that subscribe button. If we reach 10,000, everything changes here. The more I can grow the channel, the more help I can actually get. So my mic is on, and the better programming we can get, and even more guests and more people as commentators on the show. I'm super excited for what is to come. So again, smash that subscribe button. Okay, thanks, friends. And let us go to Crazy Town. Crazy Town, my friends. Crazy Town is Susan Collins. It is, my friends, the many faces of Susan Collins. Now that we're facing contentious Senate confirmations, I like this person on Twitter, Nikki Frank. We have returned to the Susan Collins color-coded scale of concern. We go from green, which is not concerned, through sort of a yellow-green area of mildly concerned, moderately concerned, severely concerned, and then even in our red zone, troubled. And then finally, she reaches her absolute limit when she is disappointed. Susan Collins, who I will never forgive, along with the other Republicans who decided to confirm Brett Kavanaugh and totally gaslighted us, saying that he would treat Roe v. Wade as established precedent, longstanding precedent. Susan Collins, who we shall see, is she going to stand up to the Tulsi Gabbard nomination? Is she going to stand up to the Matt Gaetz nomination, even though that's fake? Is she going to say no Christian nationalists, right-wingers should be heading up our military, especially one who is entirely unqualified and was pushed out of his own service? Where will she draw the line? I don't know, but we are living in Crazy Town. And the queen right now of Crazy Town may, in fact, be Susan Collins. Thanks, guys. Please remember to subscribe, and I will see you bright and early tomorrow, Friday, right here, Jen Taub on YouTube.